All right. Good evening, everyone. This is the last session of Ignite Season 2. And this session is all about campus life. What you do in campus, placements, committees, networking, how you ace competitions, life projects, how do you get into those interactions with your professors, how do you create teams. I think there'll be a lot of it that we'll be diving into, and we will also be diving into what's the way forward considering the COVID scenario when you're actually working or for you guys studying from home. So in next 2 minutes, let me just take you through our panel. So we have Newton from IIM Bangalore, 2020 batch, and he has also served as a student placement representative, and he'll be joining Boston Consulting Group in Dubai. And joining him, another placecomer who has headed placement team for both the years at FMS Delhi and was Dean's list of top 5% of their batch. He is Shubham Gupta, and he'll be joining McKinsey and Company. Coming to our next two panelists, so Ayushmn Sikka, Nasimunji Mumbai, uh, and he'll be joining Bain Capability Network, Bain and Company. Why I mentioned that the first two are placecomers, the next two are actually the people who have actually performed really, really well in many competitions, which has shown their skills and talent across and participated in multiple competitions, but excels in few of them. So Ayushman was Asian Paints Canvas first runners-up nationally and HUL Lime second runner-up. Then I move on to our fourth panelist, which is Bijayeta Pati. She's from IMT Ghaziabad. She's going into PepsiCo. And she is one of the top 10 D2C competitive business leaders. And I'll tell you why, because she is a person who actually breathes and lives on competitions. I'll take few names. If I'm not wrong, she has excelled in about 10 plus corporate competitions, and few of them, obviously PepsiCo Dare to Do More, where she was AMENA region. So that happens globally, and she was, so to say, the whole AMENA region winner. And she has excelled in the other competitions, which are Reliance TOP, HUL Line, Colgate Transcend, Titan Elevate, Google Case Study Competition, Go Green Schneider Electric, and Mahindra War Room. That's a lot, and all these competitions are the big competitions. And last on our panel, and I wanted to introduce Jinit only in the end because the introduction is actually heavy. So he's a scholar. Okay, so he's a kind of a person. I used to so my dad always used to tell me that, hey, have you seen that guy? He gets 90% plus. Why can't you get it? And everywhere in our whole sort of journey, everybody would have gone through that comparisons. Hey, uncle ka bacha, mama bhanja ka bacha. And I think, and that's why I want to take a minute, Janet, to let them sort of appreciate the way in terms of how that thing sort of gets in. So he has been awarded the best performance all around gold medal for IIM Ahmedabad, the batch 2018-20. He has also achieved institute rank 3 when it comes to academic performance. He was also awarded with the prestigious Directors Merit List Award for his performance in the first year at IIM Bangalore. He'll be starting his corporate journey as a strategy analyst in Accenture Strategy, global consulting business. He's a chartered accountant by qualification, and he was bestowed with All India ranks of fourth and 46 for his exemplary performance in CA Inter and CA final exams. He also holds a gold medal for his graduation in Bachelor's of Commerce at Ahmedabad University. And he also is a state topper in 12th and 10th state board exams. I don't think anything is left, but he is proud representative of the recipient of Gujarat Governors Award for his performance as a Boy Scout. And from the competition point of view as well, he was the national winner of Reliance TOP 4.0, which is a competition which is based on you pitching an idea to Reliance. and Reliance call it your idea, our pitch, your idea. So that was the panelists. We ensure that you have panel. I mean, this campus life discussion has place commerce, have people who have excelled. There are cases or the stories that we will get into wherein if a company is not coming to your campus, how to ensure that you actually take a shot at those companies as well. And Bijayeta is one clear example. So we will get into all those discussions. To start off with, the first question that I want to throw it open is let's try and understand the life of a B schooler. Okay, what is the kind of transformation the MBA campus does for you? And uh, in those 2 years, is it really a transformation or it is just a notch up from your existing thing? I'll come to you, Jinit, first. Having shown exemplary performance across from, I mean, I'm sure I didn't go into your childhood first, second, third, fourth, but 10th onwards, everywhere you have been scaling. So let us know in terms of the transformation, how students should be seeing their campus life.
Yeah, thank you for a very kind introduction, Ankit. If I just come to the question proper, I think that a B school experience can be compared to an endoscope to view your hidden talents. So it is actually a transformation, something which is unparalleled, which has been unparalleled for me. And I think the B school life should be bucketed into various buckets to understand how a person may try to excel. A kid's placements is something which everyone knows and everyone would be doing, but other than that, a lot of research, authoring research papers, doing a lot of corporate competitions, going for international immersion, starting up a startup, which I started too at NSRCL IIM Bangalore, are the other things which the B school aspirant should look into in the next 2 years to come in order to excel. So it provides a platform, a very big platform in terms of a lot of competitions, clubs and committees, research to you thrown open, and you need to discover that what are those particular things which you want to have as a cherry on your cake. So it is definitely a transformation in my view. Others may add.
Okay, all right. Let me go to you, Ayushman, next.
Um, sure, Ankit. So, in my case, it has definitely been a transformation. I have been a fresher, so right after my engineering, when I came to MBA, from not knowing the meaning of FMCG to acing the top FMCG competitions, it has definitely been a transformation for me. And apart from that, even if I talk about consulting, I didn't know anything about the consulting domain as such. So I think when an aspirant joins a B school, you learn a lot. You learn about time management, working under pressure, and these things generally a student is not encounter it doesn't encounter in day-to-day life.
Okay, all right. And now to you, Vijeta. Also, if you can also stress on the induction part, how that is very, very critical for the incoming batch. Now it will happen virtually, but I remember the first week of that rolling exercise that senior put you through. It's not ragging, it's introduction to seniors and the professors, but that's very, very nicely put, and that should be done. But outside of that, I mean, what are the campus life that basically treats you? How does it treat you?
So I want to say that we all learn from our own experience plus that of others. What we get in B school, like the experience of alums, industry leaders. So culmination of the entire thing helps us grow and like learn from different experiences, apply them in our career. And coming to the induction part, yes, the senior peer interaction is like very crucial. Like it helps you grow in your own developments, learn from their mistakes, and get into a lot of different areas, explore yourself in those areas that you have not uh, before you had not started in. So that's like a very big part, the senior junior interaction. But I understand that in the crisis situation, how is it going to happen. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but obviously a lot of virtual interactions can help bridge the gap.
Bijayeta, I think your voice is also cracking a bit. But I think we were able to hear you for this particular question. Let me go to Newton now. And Newton, especially in these COVID times when the campuses are taking a call that, hey, they will only start in maybe September, October, or maybe later on. I don't know how the situation pans out.
Right.
How is the experience of that real campus life, the residential campus life, will change?
All right. I think Ankit is very good that we are encountering this in the very first term, because the reason I'm saying is, definitely physical classroom experience can't be compared with virtual classroom experience. But I'll tell you about the positive sides to it. Scoring very good in first and second term is really crucial, because if you want to get into good university in the exchange program, then your score in first term matters. And also, if you score good in the first two terms, then it is easy to maintain that afterward, because you will be studying electives, right? The subject that you actually like. So, and since you are not in campus physically, and you are not getting involved in the sports and cultural activities which are a part of the inauguration and orientation program, you are saving time on that. So you can use this time to actually learn and do good in academics. And that's what my take on it.
Sure. And do you also think once they come in, then they should flip it? Then they
Yeah,
should
yeah,
actually be putting more time on sports and the other cultural things?
I totally believe that they'll get their own share of fun once they reach campus. But since the first term is very crucial, I mean, you have to be ready with your resume by the end of first term. You have to score good, because you will be learning all the compulsory courses, right? Whether you like it or not, you will be learning them. And if you look at the weightage of credit, right, that you have to complete in the first and second term, which is very high. So I think it's good that is happening in first term, and you'll be there physically by the time it ends.
Okay. All right. Coming to you, Shubham, if you want to add anything on top of it.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I think peer learning will be impacted to some extent, because it does make a difference when you are sitting in a classroom with, let's say, 50 students, and then there's class participation, and then you do the projects on your own. Certain projects you'll do at campus or in your hostels. So that way it will be impacted to a certain extent. But on the brighter side, I think a lot of people who are in the second year, who will be advancing to the second years, what they are doing is they're taking up some live project or some virtual internship. So having more time at hand does give you an option to explore that, which can be a good addition to your CV, as well as it provides a great learning experience as well. And secondly, I think as Newton mentioned, it provides you more time to focus on your ACADs, and ACADs are extremely important in the first year, because they are the stepping stone if you want to do well in the second year, as well as they contribute towards your final placements, because not all the semesters would have passed by when you sit for your final placements. So your scores in the first year matter a lot. So you will get more time to focus on that. And I think lastly, people do not appreciate this fact too much, but then uh, the incoming batch will also become more habitual to working in an uncertain atmosphere, which is definitely a skill, especially in today's times. So let's say for the first two semesters, they'll be going through online classes, and then they'll go to the campus program, which will help them.
Sure. And nowadays, I think the emphasis on consistent performance is much more, because you never know whether your exams will be scrapped and you
Right.
will actually be have the same score that you had in your midterms or your earlier semesters or so. On that thought, we have a question from Adit, and anyways, that was lined up later on. Shubham, if you can sort of take this up, and
Sure.
then I'll come to Newton as well. Uh, because see, the point is that the life of a place farmer is very frankly not that easy, because they have very huge responsibility. They have restrictions in which they really work. Plus, many a times they are not looked at as best friends from the from the others in their batch? Go on, Shubham.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this is a question which a lot of people have asked me during the 2 years as well, because I applied for PlaceCom in my first year, and then I was responsible for the final placements for my senior batch, and then I applied again for the senior team as well. And a lot of people are questioning with this: how can you be applying for PlaceCom twice? I think the reason for me was quite simple, because the kind of learning curve that being a placecomer provides to you is quite unparalleled, especially when you consider some of the other societies. Every society or everything that you can take up at B School has its pros and cons. But for me, Placecom did stand out because you get to work across multiple things. First of all, you get to brand your campus to companies. You will meet CXO level people, being a student itself. Secondly, it also improves your management and operational skills on the ground, because conducting a smooth process is a huge challenge. And then every B school in this country is in a race to conduct their placements within 4 to 5 days or something like that. So it's a huge challenge to be hosting, like, let's say 50 companies, 60 companies in a day, and to make sure that all of them are satisfied. None of them are pissed off with you. So that's something in itself. And then yeah, do you do miss out on certain things. I do agree to that fact. For example, at FMS, I could not participate in any of the corporate competitions, while some of my batchmates very eagerly participated in almost all of them. And but then again, so it's a trade-off. Like, you do get to learn a lot, and at the same time you get the CV point is also quite valuable of being a placeformer, and companies do look up to you when you sit for your final placements. So I
Okay,
think that's my take on it.
sure. Newton, coming to you for the same question.
Yeah. So I think there's a saying that you can do only two out of these three things, and those three things being placement committee, social life, and then academics. So I somewhat agree to it because the dark side of placement committee is you put in much more effort. Right? It's a demanding job. So your academics and your social life might take a hit for a certain period of time. So as Shubham mentioned, even I couldn't take part in any case competition because of the time constraint. Because and the positive side to it is you learn a lot. Okay, so you learn stakeholder management. So you are representing the batch. Every decision that you take affects many people. You are the face of the institute in the corporate world. You drive campus engagement for with many of the recruiters up there. You are in constant watch. You talk to the institute authority. Even if you are framing a policy, you are taking a decision on how PPOs should be, when we should conduct the final placement process. So all the small decisions that you take, right, it affects many. So you are always under the radar of many people. So I think it teaches you how to absorb pressure, which I think is a soft skill everyone should learn. And yeah, so my cards and social life took a hit for the first two terms, but later on I managed to do well in those two front as well.
Okay, all right. I won't get into the reasons as to why those restrictions are there. I'm sure they would be well thought through in terms of why not corporate competitions or why not this and all. But those are restrictions for place commerce, and I'm sure these restrictions don't apply to any other committees as such in B schools, correct? Any marketing committee or a finance committee. It is truly for the placement committee person.
Yeah.
Okay, coming to you, Jinit, in terms of if you can, and now let's go specific in terms of how to. I mean, for all the incoming batches, the batch, how should they ensure that they completely use the campus life? I mean, retrospectively, if you think through, what habits do you think the students should inculcate during that B school life? And which will help them not only in their placements but for a broader learning experience.
Right. So a very well put question, Ankit. I would like to say that maybe the incoming students could see a B school life in four overlapping buckets once again. So if I put it as academics, placements, co-curriculars, and extracurriculars, I think everything would fall somewhere down the line when it comes to learning experience into all these four buckets. Definitely, ACADS is something which is a personal choice. I mean, whether you want to excel in ACADS or not, or you want to just go consistent with a good grade is something which is personal. Placements is something which is, I mean, I don't need to speak. It's a very important phenomenon, and people do take it sincerely. Let me devote, say, a minute to the other two buckets, which could address the question which you are asking. That is co-curriculars and extracurriculars. So, a student should try and soak into the B school culture when it comes to these two things, because these are the two things which will actually draw oneself different from all the other candidates who are B school aspirants and non B school candidates in the workplace or in the work job market. If we talk about say co-curriculars for an instance, there are a lot of things which could be interesting things which could be taken up. See, you do a lot of corporate competitions, you do a lot of campus-based competitions. This would definitely add to your research skills, presentation, communication skills, and lot on one hand. Other, a little bit, we have seen, and it has been researched also, that student faculty interaction has been reducing. People feel a little bit shy of from the faculty when it comes to campus life. But doing a lot of research with the faculties, interacting with them, doing live projects with them would definitely help you showcase what is in store for you once your MBA life is over. So second thing in co-curricular activities would be research. Third thing would be definitely trying for an international immersion. So you may take up a student exchange program or take up a short 15-day international immersion to a B school and see as to how other people learn across in a B school experience. So these are the two or three things which a person should focus on the co-curricular front. In extracurricular front, yeah, go up for your passion, do sports, do literary events, do cultural events, but also try to do something new. Say go and take help of the incubation center in your school and start a startup. What's bad in failing, right? So I think a person who has an overall idea of what B school has to offer in these four buckets can try to maximize his learning out of his B school experience.
Okay. All right. Thanks. The one thing you spoke about exchange programs.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. I mean, many people see it as not really a learning experience, rather that they have good grades, they have earned good grades, and I mean, in majority of the exchange programs, you do get good grades, and it's sort of a vacation from that that hectic schedule. I mean, I've seen, I've sort of spoken to those students as well. So if that is true, then where you're heading in an exchange program and what you're doing in that program actually is something that you need to pick and choose. It should not be any XYZ. How do you ensure you choose the right option when you're actually getting into those international immersive programs?
Yeah, it was quite simple for me. In 2018, back then IIM stood at 26th rank in QS rankings. So only those schools which were higher than IIM scale in those QS rankings mattered to me when it comes to a learning experience, right? So that is something which is one filter which students may try to apply. And maybe because of my rank in the first term, I think I stood 26th in the batch. I could not appear for say Booth and HEC, which were higher than IMB. So I selected another option. So I decided to go for a global network week program at Yale School of Management. So this is what precisely I'm talking about. And you can select a school on the basis of its ranking on one hand, or maybe how that school is dear to you. Maybe if you are an expert at say biotechnology or say telecom, and if you feel that a school has a lot of alum base in this industry, then you can go network. Then you can select such a school. So school selection is very important. Otherwise, the term becomes a tourism term. So that is very important, Ankit. So these
Sure.
were my parameters of selection.
Okay. All right. Okay. Coming to you, Ayushman, for the earlier question itself, how students should make the full use of the campus life.
Ankit, as Jinit has already pointed out, there are various verticals. But I think when we are on campus, firstly, the most important thing that I personally believe is the networking part within your peers. NMIMS has huge batch, approximately 500 students are there, and we are not able to interact with everyone. So I think it is very important that you network with everyone, because in future you might be needing help. And when we are making teams as well for corporate competitions, then again, if you would know many people, that would come handy. Secondly, obviously there are various certifications that one may go for, and apart from that, there are live internships. There are the research work. I would like to emphasize on this aspect that every faculty I have seen, like at least from the marketing point of view, they are working upon a certain research. So students are not very much aware about it, and I think they should contact and they should get in touch with their faculty, that if there is some research work going on, so they can be part of it, so that if a faculty is in future going to publish it, so they have had a good share amount of learning in that area, and they can obviously put it on their CV as well.
Okay, all right. And also from the networking point of view, Ayushmn, just so it is so for me, the networking is not that you should communicate with all the 500 people in your batch or maybe 1,000 people, right? Because you may not be able to do that. I think more importantly, what I mean, according to me, networking goes hand in hand with your personal brand as well. So it's not that you need to know all 500 of them. It is also that all those 500 should actually know about you and should know about certain skill
Sure.
set that is very unique to you. So it's
Sure.
basically a two-way thing rather than just I need to know, I need to say hello to all the 500 guys. Coming to
So
you,
Ankit,
Bijayeta. Go ahead, go ahead.
Ankit, I just wanted to add one more thing here, that
So,
we
Sorry, Bijayeta, I'll come to you. Ayushman wanted to make a point.
yeah.
Go ahead,
So I
Ayushman.
was just saying that when we are at campus, we have a lot of group projects, and we are in groups of 5 or 6, and we are working upon academics. So what happens is that certain students do not want to give that much to the group projects, because ultimately there will be group marking, and you get a tag of freeloader in that case. So I just think that personal branding is very important when you are there on campus. This tag, like a freeloader or someone who is not working, would not help you much later in your life. So I think that is very important for a B school student.
Okay, all right. Thanks. Yeah, go ahead, Bijayeta.
so what I wanted to say was that being part of different committees also help a lot in a B school environment. So since I was a part of academic committee, there were a lot of resources available to the students from the different committees, like doing a lot of short-term projects, which is made available to the student. And obviously, as Ayushman mentioned about the networking aspect, so it for me, I could say personally, it was a really important aspect, because to find a teammate in different competitions, to know a person who can be able to handle this part of the team. So that was very crucial to know each other. Like, you cannot know 500 people in a college, but you should know at least whom you can contact regarding this particular aspect. And obviously, one thing that everyone misses out is on the library resources, because there were times I have been trying to find a particular area of the work or particular study, and it was available in the library all while. So that's what I would suggest incoming students, to make a full utilization of the library resources, all the news and reports. I cannot stress on how important those aspects are.
Okay, all right. Newton, so I want to just, I mean, probably rephrase or put specifics to this question for you and Shubham. So everybody talks about that with a placement committee and the other batch, there is always a transactional relationship. Okay, in terms of, hey, company has opened this application, come and apply and all of that CV thing, right? But if a student wants to make complete, I mean, sense of a campus life, including the placement committees, how do you think students can also either create value for the placecomers or the placement committee, and the placement committee can also create value for the students outside of the placements per se?
Right. So Ankit, that's a very pertinent question. So I think most of the B schools, I mean, even if there are 13 or 15 people who are part of the placement committee and they are responsible for the whole placement process, sometimes we ask the whole batch, do you know any potential recruiters who visit other campuses and who can be our potential recruiters as well? So we take help from the batch in that sense as well. And also we encourage the batch to help the people who are not yet placed. And this thing, I don't think this is placement committee's responsibility alone. People do on moral ground. So if say, I mean, all the IIMs out there, they conduct the process on day wise, right? So day 0, day 1, day 2. Someone gets placed in day 0 and don't want to go for day 1. They help their batchmates, and that's something they do out of their moral ground. So I think that's what that eases the burden of the placement committee, and this way they can contribute to the placement committee. And also, as I mentioned, they can get us different contacts. I mean, the contacts works at on personal level, right? So if they have worked closely with some recruiter, if they know some big guy, VP or CXO in some firm, then definitely that can be a add-on.
Sure. Your thoughts, Shubham?
Yeah, definitely. That is something what Newton mentioned is extremely important. Like, I think place comms around campuses are also realizing the importance of using the 450 people who can act as contacts. They might have family members who are working as at very senior positions in different companies. Then, other than that, one part of your question was also inspire confidence amongst the batch. I think one complaint that a lot of people have is for the companies, not for the students. So I think there some work can be done. For example,
your voice is cracking in between. Go ahead. I think now it's better.
Is it better now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
You'll have to repeat yourself for last 5-10 seconds.
All right. Okay. So I was saying a lot of students they not working majorly for the companies and they're working only for the students. So it's always a between
sorry, Shubham, I'll have to cut you there because your voice is cracking and we're not able to comprehend what you're saying. I'll come back to you while you sort of figure that out. The internet connection, just try disconnecting, connecting again. That generally works. The Indian, or not Indian, worldwide restart. Maybe that works. Coming to you, Jinit, and then I'll come back again to Shubham. See, what happens is that though MBA is a 2-year program, but many a times it is looked at that, hey, what should you do in your first 2 months specifically? Because one, you get placed in summers. If you get placed in summers and they give a PPO, your life is sorted. It many a times, right? So one, what should you be doing in those 2 months? And if even if the summer is not there, then you have maybe a year and a half. How do you create that? I would say attention grabbing factors so that companies take notice in the first 2 months.
Right. So let me talk about 3 aspects to this. The first aspect is definitely academics. A lot of B schools summer placement resumes don't contain a CAT scores, but still I would advise, because sometimes recruiters may ask, students may choose not to answer or answer, I don't know, but the first term grades definitely matter. And as Newton rightly said, that the core subjects which come in the first 2 terms in any B school definitely help you answer questions when you are appearing for a consult or a finance or a GenMan or a marketing interview. So definitely ACADS is something which needs to be taken care of. Proper attention should be provided. The second thing is about participation and networking in a B school campus. So try to be a part of 1 or 2 clubs. I was a part of the business club of IIM B known as FII, because it helps you understand people around, helps you learn a lot out of peer learning, and even place your experience ahead in an interview while giving an introduction. So participating in various events which occur, ice breaking events, whatever is your interest, is something which helps a lot. And the third point, so both these things definitely add to your CV. And the third thing, specifically from say a placement perspective, that if I am well decided after talking to my seniors or after introspecting that, hey, I want to appear for a finance role, I want to appear for a consult role or operations role, what I can do is I can utilize those 2 months to take necessary certifications to show my inclination. that I may take up a Bloomberg market concepts, to show that, oh yeah, I am interested into finance sort of a placement, or I can take up KPMG Six Sigma course or something. So these things definitely show a recruiter on a CV that this person is really interested and is trying to build a well seasoned resume. So these three things, attached participation and special certifications in the first three terms, help a lot when it comes to placements.
Okay. Ayushman, Bijti, any thoughts on this? Either of you?
I think I can, yeah, I can just add the live projects that are available from various corporates. So because even the committees are working to get as many projects in first 2-3 months, because we all know that there is summer placements. So it is very important that you apply to as many live projects, and you get a gist of what it means to work in particular field. And I think that is about it. It'll just show the recruiter that this person is interested to work around and be participative as much as possible, and keeping obviously the
Okay.
other aspects that Jinit has already mentioned.
Okay. Bijayeta, anything else from your side?
So for me, I would suggest the incoming students to learn a lot of different skills, because as I have spoken to different diverse recruiters, all they want is unique achievements, unique engineering fields, unique skill sets that can differentiate them. So I would suggest them to start cultivating those kind of skills to outshine in a CV selection or catch a recruiter's eye. So that's just one point that I wanted to make.
Sure. Okay. Coming to you, Shubham, if you want to complete yourself, I think it's better. I can see the video is better than before.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me fine?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, so as far as building your profile in the first 2-3 months at a B school, I think there are two bits to answering this question. One is what you can do to improve your existing profile, and then second, how to present your profile to the recruiters. So coming to the first bit, which is how you can build your profile, is there's a possibility of enhancing your profile in the first 2-3 months. So I think one thing that you can do is, as Jinit also mentioned, work on certain certifications and live projects if you can, or like if they're also like at FMS, there are certain societies which conduct their selection process before the summers process. So that can also be a good CV point, a good addition to your CV. And then there's one more thing. It also helps to have that clarity which roles you want to apply for. For example, so when you go to a B school, people will tell you that consult or finance are the most coveted roles, or marketing, you should apply for, a fresher should apply for marketing, and all those kind of things. So it always helps to have that clarity. That I would say there should be two domains that you should work upon in the first 3-4 months. You should have complete clarity that, for example, for me, it was consult and e-commerce operations kind of roles. So I did not waste too much time trying to figure this thing out. I've seen people who for the first 2 months are only trying to figure out whether they want to apply for consult, and then after a month probably they decide that finance suits them better and all those sort of things. So it always helps to have that clarity. Coming to the second bit, which is how you can improve your existing CV. So there are 2-3 points I would like to cover here. One is in every CV point of yours, numbers are extremely important. So whatever CV point you write, what the impact that particular point made to the organization, to the society, to whatever organization you're working for. So that really helps. And then second thing is adding your CV points with a power verb. So always have that. Do not start using your every CV point with a common word or something like I worked on this project. Instead of that, you can use more impactful words. And the third thing is this is something which I also probably did to some extent. So people always try to exaggerate the impact that was made or the points that they write. So it's okay to exaggerate them to some extent, but it can backfire if you over exaggerate stuff. So this in fact happened to me in one of the summer's interviews. In one of the partner rounds with one of the consult firms, there was one point which I had mentioned. I had worked on some internship in the second year of my college, and like actually there was not much work to do, but then I had mentioned that point that I did so and so things and probably this made that much impact. And the partner asked me, that was the first question that the partner asked me in that round. And I am quite sure he was able to see through that I did not do too much work there. So this was definitely one learning I got from my summer placements. And in the final placements, I made sure that my CV, all the points that my CV had, I was absolutely sure about all the CV points. So I think this would be my take on it.
Sure. Also, on that thought itself, Newton, if you can also tell them it is easy. I mean, I won't call it's easy to put things on your CV, but when you are in a B school, it needs to go through a validation process. So
Right.
even if you have put that, hey, I have added 10 crores to the top line, there needs to be a proof which you need to give to the place commerce. Otherwise, you won't be able to add whether it is 10 crores or 100 crores. Correct, Newton?
Right, right. I think the process is pretty much different across B schools. I think it used to be place commerce in some of the B school, but I think the verification part has, I mean, it has gone to placement offices in certain B schools. In certain B schools, the student committee itself handles that. And I also resonate with what Shubham has said. So it's equally important to quantify your achievements because it adds a bit of credibility to it, right? And since you also mentioned that what you can do in the first 2 months, I think use these 2 months to reach out to different authorities. If you have participated in certain competition, you reach out to the organizers. So if you have scored some rank and you don't have the number yet, you reach out to government officials, file RTI. So use this time in doing those things and build credentials in your resume. If you just write, okay, I have got certificate of merit, and which might just act as a generic statement, it doesn't give credibility. If you put the numbers to it, then it shows how big. I mean, what is the scale of the event and what is the quality of that event?
Okay. And everything needs to be black and white, right? In the resume. There cannot be any gray areas. As
It
such, I
depends.
mean, generally,
Yeah, if you're putting numbers, then it has to be correct. I mean, there cannot be any approximations.
no approximation. Okay. All right. Uh, uh, moving on.
Yeah, Ankit, I could give an example
Sure.
here
Good,
of a
good.
CV point, how people can frame their CV points. And then, so as Newton mentioned, it's always better to get your CV points verified as soon as possible. So right now, maybe you have not joined the B school, so it might be a good idea to just reach out to whoever you can and get your CV points verified and get them, like the points that you'll get verified, make them very detailed so that they're not certain details that you miss out right now and then you want to add them later on. And then second bit, an example of how you can make your CV points more impactful. For example, let's say you worked on improving the forecasting of a model, and you were working with some company and you improved the forecasting of this model. So you can simply write this sentence as improved forecasting accuracy by so and so percent, and this helped optimize operations. So instead of that, you just have one single sentence to frame this point. So instead of that, to make it more impactful, you can do something like this: help optimize operations, reduce cost by 2 million by improving sales forecasting accuracy by so and so percentage. So the numbers, the three numbers in this statement, which makes it very exhaustive, like what you did, what the impact was in qualitative terms, and what it was in quantitative terms. So try to think of all your CV points in that manner.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Janet, if you can, I mean, dive into the aspects of the various clubs and committees that are there in the colleges, right? Is it mandatory and is it really required for you to be part of one or the other committee? I mean, people when they actually get into the B school in the first week or so, they're bombarded. Hey, we are this committee, we are that committee. It's like they're pitching. It's just like how companies pitch with pre-placement talks. They pitch and they would want good guys to come in. Now,
Yeah.
is that really required from a student point of view to be associated with any club, committee, or so? If yes, why so? And then how to make full use of it?
That's a very good question to ask, Ankit. So let me structure my answer into two parts. So if I need to answer in a particular word, that is it mandatory to get into a particular club or a committee to get a particular shortlist or get a particular interview? I think no. So the point is that there have been my friends who have been in a part of various clubs who are not so much renowned, or maybe on the top of the cake, but still have managed to get into McKinsey, BCG, and Bates, or even people who have not been part of clubs have managed to get into. So the point is, if we talk about, if we just focus on the word mandatory, no, maybe not. But if I could draw a line of difference between whether it is required or should be done or not, then definitely, a student should try get into a club of his interest, because of primarily two reasons. The first part of the reason is that you get to interact with a lot of internal and external stakeholders when you are, say, managing a business event or a cultural fest, or floating a live project for your batch or something. So you get to do a lot of networking, understand how people work in the outside world, understand how your batchmates function, and lot. So this is something which is a very important part of a B school experience and should be tried for. And second is, one very niche part of getting into a club or something is generally, which is generally missed out by students, is that when you are part of a club or a committee, and when you say handle some events. So if I give you my example, I was the joint head of sponsorships committee for the business festival Vista of IIM Bangalore, and I was also the organizer and curator of TEDx. Now, these two things are talking points for interviews, right? So when I sit in a summers interview or a finals interview, these are the two things which I have worked on, and the interviewer is really able to, is really interested to know that how this has impacted my life at a B school. So these become talking points for you. So because of these two reasons, I think essentially each and every student should get into a club of his or her interest. But maybe if things don't work out in the manner they thought for, pressure should not be built up, and there are other ways in which profile can be strengthened.
Okay. Also, I think when we are talking about, and I'll come to you, Ayushman, there will be few students who are coming in without any, so there will be freshers. Okay, there won't be any work ex. In work ex, you still have certain things to be shown on the resume, but for a fresher, it is majorly marks or the work that they have done, the LORs. So let's assume for a person that there are only marks at this point in time. Doesn't that make a good situation to actually that person, it should be a mandate that please get into one or the other club so that actually you put some emphasis or some points on your resume.
Uh, I think that is very true. Whenever we make our CV ready, and then we as a fresher will show to a place comma for verification. So they'll generally say that it is not even half a length of a page. So like to just strengthen your CV, as if we can put it in that way, definitely one should try to join some clubs and committees, especially in the first 2-3 months, because you have to make your CV ready for summer placements. As to mention, even I was part of Placecom for the first 3 months, and I could see how things operate and how much I can take load off. But at the end of the day, it was my personal decision that I want much time to uh, do other stuff, like let's say competitions, because the two things could not get together. Like if I want to give a lot of time to competitions, then I cannot do much time or devote much time to the committee work. And Placecom generally can actually help you in a lot of ways, build you professionally as well. But then there are a lot of other committees, let's say student council, marketing committee, finance committee, which learning would, for me personally, I can say the learning can be on the lesser side, but the administrative work would be on the higher side. Like you'll be just doing the administrative work, and that may not give you an edge to other participants who may not be part of any committee, but maybe they are working on certain certifications, let's say flip, or crs, or any digital marketing course, or as mentioned KPMG, Six Sigma. So I think that is very crucial when you are building your CV. You want it to look holistic as such.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Vijeta, I'll come to you, and I'll just shift it from the clubs and committees to competitions per se, because you have participated in many of them and the all the big ones, correct? What are the three important aspects of the case study competitions which really work well for students?
So I'll start with the committee process first because I felt that there was a pre-learning from the committee selections and the part of the process of getting into a committee, and then there was an uh, after learning from being in the committee. So in a pre-learning, because in IMT there was a culture that every person has to get into a committee. So everyone was trying for PleaseCom, AcadCom, and all these committees. So there was a very extensive process that all the selections that were happening, even the rounds and rounds of interview, it really helped us a lot in the initial phases. And even after the getting into a particular committee, we were all trying to do a different kind of thing that was better than our previous year's committees. So that kind of learning is what I would suggest the incoming batch to look forward to. And if you're a fresher, definitely it's not just a CV point, it's also adds to your own capabilities. And because summers are just 2 months away from that, it shows that you have done something in that 2 months. And coming to competitions are what I believe are holistic development, because you learn a lot from the classes, but you can never practically do those things. For example, in marketing or even in finance, you learn the aspects, but it's like very different from what happens in the classroom, all the teachings we have had, to rather do that in a marketing. Just to give a brief example, you learn a lot about segmentation in marketing and how to talk to consumers. But if you're not outside a shop and talking to a consumer, understanding the feelings and how to better frame a question to them to get a very good insight, is what is a very good learning. And the three aspects that I look forward to, in a competition, like why should a person incoming batch should look forward to competition, because not just you can apply practical knowledge, but also it gives you a chance to interact with recruiters directly at their own premises. Like even all the big competitions, they invite you to into their own offices, talk about like what are their personal selection criteria. So that's a very unique view into the organization. And secondly, it also gives you an edge over different other B schools. You won't just be competing within your own school. You would be obviously interacting with different B school students, and it gives you a podium to do all that. So that's all. I feel that competitions give a very holistic development.
Okay. All right. Also, Ayushman, do you want to add on top of it in terms of from the competitions point of view? Uh, it is, I see many comments here, which basically tells they're saying that, hey, some competitions are not open for us. How should we basically participate? But there are many competitions which are open to all colleges and they don't have a target list. So what should they be doing? I mean, because they'll have to showcase their college name somewhere. They need to start somewhere. Only then the recruiters will also start noticing. Good.
Sure, Ankit. So, this question generally comes up that, this competition is not open to us. But I think, as you already mentioned, that the a person in B school has to start somewhere. And if I talk about NMIMS, we have been trying to ace as many competitions as possible. At particularly, like if we talk about HUL Lime, we have been a national finalist for like last 3-4 years. So I think then even recruiters take notice of this, that certain batch is at least trying, or certain campus is at least trying to come up. So that is from the campus point of view. And if we talk about competitions as such, so if I give my example, being a fresher, I was always told by my seniors that, you are a fresher, you should apply for marketing roles. Maybe consulting would not even shortlist you for any particular role that comes up. And when I went for my summer internship, then I was very sure that I want to get into consulting. So competitions as such give you, as Bijayeta already mentioned, that it gives you a holistic experience. It gives you talking point in your conversations with the HR, or with the panel, with the recruiters. in parallel. And more importantly, the learning aspect is huge. So you explore yourself, you apply your marketing knowledge to the practical world. You are talking about 4Ps, you are talking about STP segmentation, but when you are actually implementing those skill sets, those learnings in the practical world from a brand marketer's perspective, small things like would this message go in a right manner to a customer when we are, let's say, talking about Dove. So these are the things that you learn when you are participating in competitions. And I think the most important thing will always be building your profile. At least it has been for me. And and the major thing is the PPI opportunity as well. Like, let's say HUL doesn't recruit from NMIMS, so I got an opportunity. I got a pre-placement interview with HUL, and I think that was a huge opportunity for me.
Okay. No, I think Bijayeta is a clear-cut example. PepsiCo, I mean, as far as I understand, last year, they didn't come to IMT Ghaziabad, but IMT Ghaziabad has been visiting PepsiCo Dare to Do More challenge from last 2 years consecutively. And Bijayeta, if I'm not wrong, they didn't come for the placements, but you're able to join PepsiCo only because of the competition route, correct? Sorry, Vijeta, we couldn't hear you. Your I think voice is breaking or the connection is feeble. Okay. While she joins back again, Jinit, we were discussing before when you joined that the case study competition needs to be emphasized really, really well. One other aspect, and that is not only true for competitions, but we all talked about, and I think Shubham, you were talking about that I was very, very clear that I need to either get into consulting or e-commerce, right? Trust me, majority of the students,
Yeah.
even in all the top B schools as well, they don't have that clarity. They want to find that clarity while they are in their B schools, right? So the point is that what is the best mechanism for you to find out which profile is best suited for you, which industry is best suited for you, and maybe which company is best suited for you. It might be a long consideration set, but definitely it has to be a consideration set that you curate. Janet, do you have certain thoughts point wise in terms of how one should go through this?
Absolutely. So I think two things majorly could help a person shape his inclinations towards a particular role in final placements. Because when we talk about summer placements, as we already talked, a lot of a student comes with a lot of background, say work ex background or a graduation background, and that may govern a little bit of summer placements, right? But when we talk about final placements, students have a lot of opportunity to experiment and decide where they want to go for. So two things which the incoming students may take care of and help is that first they should try and take up or design their electives in such a manner that they try and have an academic exposure over all the different streams which a B school has to offer. Say marketing, say operations, say information technology, consulting, finance, and HR. So if a person studies at least one elective of these six disciplines, you would have a clear idea that this is the core knowledge which can be thought of. Second thing is that as if we school students just see say a Dare to Compete portal, or ask seniors about what type of competitions occur in different domains. Generally different competitions in different by different companies do occur in particular seasons or particular windows. And what one could really optimize is that on one hand corporate competitions, on other hand fest competitions like say Red Brick Summit or Vista by IIM Bangalore, a person could take up a marketing competition, best suited, take up an entrepreneurship competition, and then take up a finance competition together in a particular season, right? So planning for competitions on the basis of the knowledge which is available on the say D2C portal for the previous years, or maybe talking to seniors, is something which a student should take off as an opportunity to plan that and once he participates in that competition, does a lot of primary and secondary research, talks to a lot of professors and friends, and presents to the company, it would really help him shape the decision that whether this field is suited to me, whether do I want to swim in these waters or not, or do I change the waters. So I think these two things, acads and competitions, are something which could modify or shape a career decision for an aspirant.
Sure. And outside of, I think, competition, live projects are also there. And then the essence is that the placement committee also wants every company to come and give their pre-placement talks or so. The only difference is that, see, all the pre-placement talks or anything that the company talks about while they're on campus will always be rosy. It will be very, very good brand stories or very, very good employee stories who have done really, really well. I mean, that might be only one out of the 100, right? To have that on the ground reality, what I mean, so competition give you an idea about the industry or the company, how it stands for and all. Just one level up. So once you are interested, right? So let's say I talk about the consulting domain itself because all four of you that I see in the screen, right? Now you will have your list, correct? And Janet, you are also the prime example because I think I was told and help me. I mean, if I'm not if I'm wrong, then let me know. But you had offers from Accenture as well as McKinsey, and then you chose McKinsey because of XYZ reasons. But uh, how do we get to know as to which company is best suited? Because case study competitions is a good thing and should be done, but on top of it, how do we eliminate that noise that we see in that B school? Anybody can take it. I mean, Newton, Shubham, if you want to give place commerce perspective how we should do it, I'm all ears.
So I can take that up. I think
Sure.
pre-placement talks are a crucial part of your MBA life. It will take up a lot of your time, where every company will come to your campus and they will try to put themselves out there. So juxtapose that to who you really are, what your career anchors are, whether lifestyle or autonomy in your job or job security or general management competence. What is it that drives you? And based on that, figure out whether the role that you are applying for suits it or not. So you can speak to different seniors and try to understand their daily routine. Okay, or on top of it, it might look like, okay, consulting, marketing, but try to understand their daily routine. So if you're not a person who is comfortable with boarding a flight on Monday morning and then another on Thursday evening, and the cycle continues every week, then probably you won't sustain in consulting. Even if you are very much interested, if you know the ground reality, the daily routine of the people out there, you can take a wise decision there. And also think about what are the strengths and weaknesses you have. For example, if we are not totally into technology and innovation, and just because of the flowery term product management, which is like buzz of the town right now, you take a call and start preparing for it, like you might stuck somewhere in between. So if you're really interested in product management, then you definitely do the work it takes, right? You keep yourself abreast with the innovation happening in multiple spaces. You read up magazines and then take a call. What company does that for me? What company is doing innovation in that particular sector, which appeals to me? So I think these are the mechanisms that you can use to cancel out the noise, as you mentioned.
Okay. All right. Anybody
If
else wants to add?
I could just add
Sure.
one point.
Ankit, I can give you an example of my own final
I'll
placement.
come to you, Shubham. Janet was making a point, and then I'll come to you.
A single point, I think, after what all Newton has said, after doing that basic homework, what may work out for a person is that if he selects a particular field, or maybe two of the fields. So if I shortlist consulting and finance as the two things which I want to say try out and know more about, what I could do is that I could create a list of alums of my own B school who have been working in various companies in these two lists. And two types of alums do come to my mind when I think about this. That the alums who have sustained that honeymoon period of 6 months, 1 year, of being in a particular job, or 2 years, you could talk to them, or those who have shifted during that particular period. So this would definitely give, and every alum is definitely open to speak up and talk about their experiences. You should know how to talk smartly. So reaching out to alums over LinkedIn or through friends or something is something which is an excellent opportunity to know more about a company culture or a industry um exposure or something of sorts.
Sure, sure. Shubham, you wanted to make a point?
Yeah. So I think to make a choice here, networking becomes extremely important, especially the senior batch. So you have to join their organizations, and almost 6-7 months after they have joined their organizations, you will sit for a final placements. So if you know who has been placed where and how they are doing, if you're in good terms with them, you can always check with them, like the ground reality. And because you are friends with them, you have a decent like rosy picture. So I think that way, in my lateral placements, got an offer from Microsoft as a product manager, and within a couple of days, I was supposed to interview with McKinsey, and this was having that Microsoft offer in hand. I really was considering it very seriously.
Shubham, again, your voice is cracking. We couldn't
Is
hear.
it? Can you
We
hear me?
couldn't hear about that example of Microsoft and McKinsey. If you can just repeat it once.
Okay, can you hear me
No,
now?
it breaks in between.
Can
But
you?
go on. Give it a shot.
Yeah. Okay. Just let me know if it's not working out.
Sure.
So I got an offer from Microsoft as a product manager, and within a couple of days, I was supposed to interview with McKinsey. And
Mhm.
a couple of days later, I cannot accept the Microsoft offer. I will have to accept the McKinsey offer. So it was a bit of a challenging situation for me because within a couple of days, I had to decide which offer. So it really helped to know my seniors in that case. I spoke with within those couple of days. I got in touch with multiple management roles just to understand which one would suit me better. And it always helps to reach out to your seniors who are working with these companies because they will tell you. And then one more thing is when companies come to campus, they most probably they also bring in certain alums. So it always helps to reach out to those, get in touch with those alums, and then maybe
So,
if you
so
need to get in.
I think Shubham, your voice is breaking, but the interest of all the users, the case that I got is that Shubham had a management profile offer from Microsoft, and then he also got an offer from McKinsey. And typically in a B school, you get few hours to maybe couple of days to decide which offer you would want to keep and which offer would you want to reject. So how do you do that is when you reach out to the alums, the friends who are working in either of these two companies and these profiles to figure out which is what is best suited for you. Also, just a caveat, okay? A profile might be well suited for the person whom you're talking. Please keep that in mind. But that profile may not be good for you. So let's say for consulting, right? People want to go into consulting, but I know that consulting is not fit for everybody. They make you work, I mean, 24 into 7, and they pay you definitely. I mean, it's glamorous, but not everybody gets into that mode wherein they can actually work in a consulting firm. I have seen many examples where people leave in about a year or so. If you're so the saying is that if you are able to stick for 2 to 3 years in a consulting firm in your earlier stages, then you will actually be a partner for sure. But if you leave within those 2 years or so, then consulting is not best fit for you. So you need to ensure as to you talk to both the guys who is going towards being a partner and who has left a consulting firm to maybe join a startup or so to figure out as to what were the reasons behind it, right? Ayushman, I'll have to come to you in terms of this question on how to ace competitions. Should we learn about the company, general knowledge in a bit? I mean, I know that may require a separate session, but if there are 3 points that they should dive into when they're working on any competition, please help them with that.
Sure, Ankit. So, uh, I think the most important point when we start for a competition, as I had already mentioned, is making a right team. it is very crucial that you have the right people with whom you would be working for a good 2-3 month period. And if they lose motivation, then every effort from your side will go into waste. So that is one thing, that you identify that who are those people on campus who are are ready to give it all. That is one thing. Secondly, about the competition, you have to have that zeal, that eagerness to go on ground. You should not shy away from doing the primary research. A lot of people, they try to just fake numbers. They just float out a Google survey that okay, we did this many research, and then but the insight is not there. So till the time you go on ground, you cannot work around and get a different idea. Because if the company needed numbers, they could actually go to Nielsen. So they would not have required you for as a matter of fact. And finally, I think the other part is doing a lot of secondary research as well to ace a case study competition, and talk to people or the alums in that particular company. So let's say if I talk about Asian Paints. So I talked to my senior who has been placed with Asian Paints. I got to know about the industry because I didn't know much about paints industry as such, how the distribution channel works, and so on and so forth. So I think these are three primary reasons or primary factors that one should look upon uh, if they want to ace a case study competition.
All right. Thanks. Vijayeta, do you want to add anything on top of it?
Sure. So just one, like for me, there are three ways that I go about it. As Ayushmn mentioned about the team, so team always plays an important role, but we should not give up everything on the team. That okay, if we have a good team, then we are gonna win or we are gonna get selected. It also depends on how much effort you're going to put, and even if team is not working, you can also do your own part. I think you can do more than your own part. So, which is what happened in my most of the cases, most of the competitions where people had other obligations, and it was right of them to have those obligations to do. But it's like if your team is not working, does not mean that you leave the entire thing and go off. So, in those cases, I gave my best and tried to do well, and we managed to at least succeed in one of the few rounds. So the next thing is, as networking is like really crucial, and that's like the first step that I do. Like whenever a competition comes, I start off with the LinkedIn, see whoever is in that particular organization, try to talk to them. Even if I could not get any good references, I try to go to the market and see if I could get any catch hold of any distributors or salesperson and talk to them. I remember even in the one and all these big competitions like Colgate, Google, Line, they happen all in the same span of 2 to 3 months, and every competition has the same timeline of the first round, second round. So I think there was one particular competition. I was returning from Colgate's round, and I had PepsiCo in 2 to 3 days. So you have the soft skills here plays a very important role in how you juggle different projects, but give your 100% in all. It's a very crucial thing, and that's what you need to learn first before like a lot of students right now ask me what's the hard skill that I need to learn for the competition. But for me, that I suggest them always that you should learn how to do this conflict management, try to do a lot of different projects, multitasking. These are the crucial things that will help you move through the competitions.
Sure, sure. All right. Newton, coming to you, and the question will be very, very specific to placements during COVID. Now, the final placements and everything was almost done for pretty much all the B schools when India was hit with this pandemic. Now, going forward, and Shubham, you can also pitch in. Going forward, what do you anticipate the change in this scenario will be? One definite change is that companies are not coming onto the campuses, so the whole process will happen virtually. That's for sure, right? Do you also see that companies will be taking up different maybe processes or aspects or trying different things to ensure that they are able to evaluate candidate nicely virtually?
Yeah, so Ankit, I think there's a lot of negativities out there right now. People are making opinions on how all the industries are going down, but definitely there are certain industries which are in evolution mode. For example, the hospitality and tourism, but also at the same time there are other industries who are booming, whose intake has gone up. For example, e-commerce, right? So I would say the balance has shifted, and this might reflect in the campus placement as well. So till now you might be seeing a well distribution between consulting, marketing, e-commerce, product management. So the distribution might, but I don't think if you particularly speak about the 2022 batch, when they enter the final placement season, a lots of job demands would have been created by then. And as of now, most of the B schools have decided on tentative dates for the summer placement process. So I think so. Even if the summer placement process gets a bit slowed down because of the situation, I think they are in safe hands when it comes to the final placement season.
Okay. Any points from you, Shubham? Can you hear us, Shubham?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Good. Good.
I think Newton has mostly covered most of it. The only thing I would is the placement process might get postponed to certain extent. Most of the campuses will now not be able to conduct the process on similar dates. So that will allow more, let's say a couple of more months or a month for certain campuses to students to prepare for the placements. So I think it becomes important to utilize that extra month, even in case, let's say, the number of vacancies that potentially could be there in your favorite sector. Let's say they are expected to go down, but then at the same time you will have more time at hand to prepare for those interviews. So and then there definitely be certain people who will make very good use of it. So it's the FOMO term becomes quite important here. It becomes important not to miss out on those extra months and then of that time by doing live projects, by doing virtual internships or whatever people can.
Sure. Also, on the thought, we had day before yesterday, we had a panel wherein all the HRs from different industries were present. FMCG, good, I mean, banking, finance, consulting, conglomerates. There, the one question was being asked. So, one is there any more collaborative way of getting things done? When I say collaboration between the company and the colleges, which is placecoms and the company representatives, maybe within companies itself, which are there in the same segment. Do you think that's, I mean, because you have been in the placement committee, do you think on campus that will be easier to do? The campus will be open to do it. If there are any pointers that from the campus point of view, you will have to think through what are those pointers. Newton?
What I can think of as of now is so the placement
So
committee might change. Yeah, go ahead, Shubham. Yes. I guess I'll continue then. I think I can't hear Shubham.
I think there is a small delay with Shubham. You can continue and then we'll come again to Shubham.
Sure. So I think the placement committee can consider changing the placement policy. For all these B schools, there have been restriction. Okay, if you have one offer, then you can get another or not. So it varies from B school to B school. So definitely, given the situation at hand, the placement committee can change the policy. And you talked about collaborative ways with different companies. I mean, there's nothing that I can think of as of now, any collaborative way. But given the situation, when the summer placement process in the 1921 batch got hampered, then the placement office pitched different ideas to the company. So sometimes they can go for a reduced pay, still sustain the offer. So these things can be done, which acts as a win-win for both the institute and the company as well.
Okay. All right. Your thoughts, Shubham, on this?
yeah, so the only thing that I can think of is from the student's point of view. So right now what happens is you go to the campus, you attend certain PPTs, pre-placement talks, and the placecom makes sure that you are attentive in those sessions and you ask questions, you're listening to all of that. But now the onus will be on students. They will have to become more proactive because the level of attention that is being paid to individual students, that will definitely go down. So it will become more and more important for students to make sure that they are getting the most out of their first 3-4 months, or whenever they're sitting for placement process. They will have to be extremely proactive.
Okay, all right. And on the closing note, and I'll go through the questions if I can put across. If each one of you can give one specific advice to the incoming batch in terms of how to make best use of the next 2 years, and maybe just not to worry about the COVID scenario at all. I'll start with you, Janet, and then I'll go sequentially.
Yeah. So I think these 2 years, maybe virtual, maybe physical, or maybe a combination of both. The incoming B school students should try and experiment. Try and experiment with things you have not done. Try and experiment with crazy stuff around, and try and understand that what is something which you would have to would love doing for the rest of your life. So that is it. That don't take the baggage of the pre B school life to the B school life, whether virtual or physical.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Ayushmn.
Okay, so I think I would suggest the incoming batch that because of the COVID times as well, that they should go for learning as much as possible now. It will be very crucial because everyone has to differentiate themselves with respect to the batch, and you know, one has to make a good brand out of themselves as well. That you are put in a positive light when a batch would of you. So I think that is one very crucial thing, that learning is very critical, and as we have already had in our discussion as well, that whatever noise is there on campus, virtually or physically, one has to eliminate that noise. And as we talked about committees as well, one should think in a very holistic manner, that which committees one would want to apply, and how much the benefits they can reap out of it. So I think that would be my take on it.
Okay, all right. I'll come to you, Shubham. Okay, I think he can. Uh, I'll come to you, Bijayeta, and then I'll go back to Shubham again, maybe towards the end. Closing thoughts on. See, virtually all these technical problems, the internet is playing its role. You can't do anything. Shubham, if you can hear me, if you can go on with your closing thoughts,
Yeah.
advice to students.
So my advice would be to not become negative, because a lot of people are saying that placements will suffer and all of that, and people are trying to defer their admission this year. So placements are going to be okay. Like as Newton also mentioned, e-commerce is booming, product management roles are booming. The consulting firms, McKinsey, BCG, Bain, all these companies are rolling out more PPOs than they did last year. So it's quite okay. And all the top FMCG, Genman roles, HUL, TAS, Aditya Birla Group, all of them have been giving a lot of PPOs. So the picture is not as bad as it is being painted out there. So the only thing that people should try to do is make the best out of their 2 years to keep themselves engaged. So there are three things that people typically do in a B school. One is doing good in their acad. Second is joining some society or PlayScom or anything of that sort. Third is focusing a lot on corporate competitions. So I would suggest get the clarity and choose two out of these three as soon as you can, and just focus on those. And the mantra remains the same. Just try to excel in two of these three. This will never change, and things will fall through.
Thanks, Shubham. Coming to you, Newton.
I think make friends for life. You will not get this college life back again, and most of you probably are not going to study further. So build connection both on personal and professional front. That's going to help you in the long run. And also, I would like to say that in B school, whatever you do comes with an opportunity cost. So most of the time you will be in dilemmas whether I should go for this or that. Right? In these cases, what I did, what worked out for me is I don't believe that there is a right decision. I evaluate all the decision. I evaluate what are the rewards and the risk associated with it. Then I take a decision and then I try to make it right. Because in these schools you can get diverted very easily. There will be a lot of options in front of you. You might make a wrong decision. And also the second thing that I've seen most of the people do is they try to compare themselves with other. Once you reach the school, you see the diversity and you get overwhelmed with the type of people that you meet. Most of them will be talented as compared to you in many dimensions. So learn from them. Don't be negative. Whatever is unique about you, try to hone that and try to capitalize on it. That would be my take on it.
All right. Thank you so much. And for me, I think the only thing that I tell to everybody is that try and get knowledge about each and everything. I mean, just I mean, as I told you earlier as well, my bigger fear is that I don't know what I don't know, and that is precisely what may make make everybody maybe fall because or maybe lose opportunities. So just maybe read books, talk to as many people as possible, explore as many areas as possible, life projects, competitions, maybe pre-placement talks. Ensure you get most of these 2 years or so. Thank you so much, Jinit, Newton, Ayushmn, Shubham, and Bijayeta. Unfortunately, I think she's having some trouble with her internet. But it was a great discussion. I hope our users found it really, really well. We hope to connect with all of you again soon, maybe for some other webinar. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ankit. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Ankit. Thank you for the opportunity.
Bye.